Nearly every police officer in the modern age has been trained on a system of verbal de-escalation that is referred to as verbal judo. It's taken me a little while, but I've come to the understanding that verbal judo is really not about de-escalation at all. It's about manipulation. And I think that's a part of the issue that we're dealing with when it comes to law enforcement, tactical decision making, and communication with the citizenry. So let's get into it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. 22 years ago, when I became a police officer, I went to the State Police Academy for 15 weeks of residential training. We were permitted to go home on Friday evening and return on Sunday evening, but we stayed at the campus during the week. During that training, basically they taught you all of the constitutional, law, the thing that you learned in the police academy was how to think like a police officer. And part of that was that everybody wanted to kill you. I'll just be completely honest with you, which isn't the case, obviously, because if that were the case, there'd be a lot more cops die, because the truth is that the police are reactive in nature. And so if people truly wanted to kill police officers as an end game, it would be very easy to do that. And we've seen that in ambushes and that type of thing. People call, the police come to the call. If people wanted to kill more police officers, there'd be more dead police officers. That's just the reality of it. But when I graduated, I then had to complete department-specific training, which consisted of like a couple weeks of additional training in a classroom, followed by the FTO program for probationary officers, which was around another 16 weeks or so, riding with a training officer before being released onto patrol by myself. And one of the things I studied as part of the classroom portion was a course called Verbal Judo. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard of Verbal Judo. If you have some law enforcement training or some tactical training in any way, you've probably studied Verbal Judo, or maybe you've even read the book. Now, when I first began training in Verbal Judo, or went through the course, I don't really remember at this point, but I remember I got a certificate in the initial sort of aspects of Verbal Judo, and I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant way to de-escalate people. The problem was, I was 23 years old and I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to de-escalate people. I didn't even know why people were mad. Not only that, I didn't realize what I do now at 45, some 10 plus years after I've left the institution of law enforcement, which is that verbal judo is not de-escalation. It's about manipulation, and it's about compounding and multiplying force to devastate an aggressor. And you can see that play out in the thousands of YouTube videos we've seen of police officers leading with their ego and sort of getting into these pissing battles that ultimately results in the citizen being devastated and harmed. Now, here's why I say that verbal judo is not about de-escalation and what I know now that I didn't know then, because I've done some extensive education on communication since then. And I've done some extensive martial arts training since then that I hadn't done up to that point. Judo, if viewed in the abstract, is not about de-escalation in any way. Judo is about redirection, which could also be described accurately as manipulation of the other person's aggression. For one, judo is about winners and losers, and the ultimate success of judo ends with the aggressor being struck by the force of planet Earth, after combining the force associated with their initial aggression, combined with the force of the defending judoka using a redirection technique, and ultimately a throw that ends the match. So there's nothing in the sport of judo or the devastating original martial art from which it emerged, which was Japanese jiu-jitsu, that looked anything like de-escalation. The original purpose of Japanese jiu-jitsu, quite simply, was to be lethal and to be used in battle by samurais who needed to contend with an enemy fighting to the death while cloaked in armor from head to toe. There's nothing in the system remotely related to de-escalation. So if I'm in the middle of randori with another judoka, and let's say that when he zigs, I zag, and let's say that I'm lucky enough to land a throw and I win, but the way I win makes certain that he loses, and on the street the results are devastating, because how he loses is by crashing his entire body whatever part of that lands on the ground first into the earth. And if I'm not lucky enough to land a throw, maybe I zig and the same time he zigs, and now I'm the one getting thrown. And I have now lost very badly because whatever part of my body, probably my head, is going to impact the earth first, and then I'm going to lose. And the point is that in the context of law enforcement, judo in the abstract never ends without a casualty. De-escalation is supposed to lead to a place where no one gets thrown and no one gets hurt. In fact, there's no physical contest whatsoever, and there's nothing about judo itself that ends with both people walking away uninjured. So the beginning premise, the foundation of where we start with the idea of judo being our parallel or conflation to de-escalation is just all wrong from the beginning. And unfortunately, instead of creating a sort of competent police force that makes good tactical decisions, what we've come away with is an entire force of police officers, most of whom have been trained that redirecting a person's energy to devastating results is somehow the equivalent of de-escalation. Now, as an example of this, I'd like to show you a short video of the founder of Verbal Judo. That would be the late Dr. George Thompson, who was a former police officer and was a judo black belt. And I just want to kind of like let his program speak for itself. I want to let you see what I'm talking about, and then we'll pick it up afterwards and we'll talk about a couple things. Let's check it out.
You're going to have to make correction to your kids. It's called the language of punishment, the language of discipline. Read all the books you want on disciplining people. They don't tell you what I'm about to tell you. Ready? The secret of good discipline is use language disinterestedly. What does that mean? With no bias. You cannot punish anybody or discipline anybody and show anger, condescension, irritation, or whatever. The moment you do, you lose power and you hurt permanently. I'm going to give you an example. When Taylor was 7, he was throwing a rubber football in the living room. And I had some things from China and Japan given to me by master friends of mine. And one was a vase from Beijing. And this football's flying. I said, no, no more football in house. No, game over on that. Oh yeah, Daddy, oh yeah. 3 days later, I come home, walk in, tremendous crash I hear. I know what it is, it's that vase. I walk into the living room, there's Taylor. There's pieces of the vase and a rubber football. I was homicidal. Homicidal. I was so homicidal I did it right. I quietly and calmly said, go to your room. We had contract, no football. There football, no vase. See you tomorrow morning. No dinner, no nothing. It's 3 o'clock now. See you in the morning, sir. Go very quickly. And he ran to his room. Then I went out and I hammered that bag I had in the garage. Till my hands were bleeding. See, I took my feelings out on the bag, not the boy. Now, that night I went to work. I came home in the morning. He'd already gone to school. I didn't see him again till the next evening. At which point I did, luckily, another thing. I did this all by luck. I didn't mention the vase. He had been punished, came over. His mother snuck in to see him, I think, but I didn't. 3 days later, he comes to me with tears in his eyes and apologizes for breaking the vase. Never has he thrown anything in the house again. Now contrast that to what is more natural and normal. You come in, there's Taylor, there's the vase, there's the football. What's the first words out of your mouth? Especially if you're a guy. There's lie number 1, hopefully. You never listen to me. That's lie number 2. Sure he does. You never do what I tell you. 3 sentences, 3 lies. Now let's say you luckily do the same thing. You take him to throw him into his room. Having talked that way, do you have a different boy behind the door? Who's going to steep in the tea of righteous resentment for what? 16 hours thinking what? I do too do good things. I do too listen. That's by the time he comes out, he's worse than when he put him in.
So here's the problem. There's multiple problems here, but his answer, was to make sure that the child went to bed with no dinner. So from 3 o'clock on, he got nothing to eat. And I'm sure this is a hypothetical, probably didn't happen. That's not the point. There was no part of his instruction or his example or his intended solution that had anything to do with teaching the person how to control their emotions, how to never get to a place that they were so triggered and so emotionally bent that they shouldn't have gotten to that place where they were escalated in the first place. In other words, the ramp to escalation was fine. What he teaches you is how to redirect that escalated energy into a more productive thing, which is fine. It's just that he still went out and beat the death out of the bag. And what he thought was normal and a normal response to being challenged, or the wrong of his child picking up a football and throwing it in and breaking something irreplaceable, was to lash out. And I understand that that's true. I understand that it's true that the normal human behavior is to lash out, but you're going to put all of this effort into teaching people how to think a different way. And instead of teaching them how to take their ego out of the situation, you teach them how to redirect the person's mistake into something that only devastates them. And so that is judo. And he's correct in that verbal judo does that, because verbal judo caused the child to think that his dad didn't care enough about him to make sure that he got dinner. What the right approach would have been to go to his child immediately in the moment, show his child that he had the ability to place the well-being of the child above whatever material thing was broken and in the floor, and say, hey, I'm not happy about the fact that this happened, and I'm going to need a few minutes to manually adjust my emotions because I really cared about that thing. But I didn't care about that thing as much as I cared about you. After dinner, you and I are going to have a conversation about being careless and about not respecting other people's things and about whatever you want in the moment causing you to do something that will cause irreparable harm to somebody else, because this thing is broken. It can't be replaced. But that's not as important as you understanding, what's happening and why we got here, right? That would have been a different thing. Now, it's easy for me, at 45 years old, having raised a child, to sit here and say these things. The problem is, on the street, the police officer doesn't have another room that he can divert and go punch a bag. He doesn't have another place to unload that anger, that pent up emotional energy. And if you never teach the police officer how to check their ego and leave it out of the situation in the beginning, then you always make sure that that emotional response happens. And then you have to trust that they're going to have an appropriate outlet for that emotion. In other words, you never tell the police officer to absorb that energy from the other person. And that's why jiu-jitsu is the answer and not judo. And so I'm going to be working on a manuscript moving forward that I hope to get implemented into some sort of law enforcement training that teaches a different mindset, because the mindset of de-escalation cannot happen if all you do is teach people how to be manipulative. What this has turned into is an entire force of police officers who gaslight and blame the victim. And this actually came to me when I was watching the video of Jeff Gray that he sent me. Jeff Gray did a video last week where he covered a case with a gentleman named Winklman, where this person was stopped by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Department. Deputy Canan was his name. This guy didn't stop fast enough. He was being stopped on a bicycle for no light, right? That's not really what this was about. This was a pretextual stop where the guy thought he was going to catch somebody with dope, and he tried to basically use the light as a way to stop him. So what happened was, if you watch that video, and I'll share a little clip here.
Put the bike down. Put your hands behind your back.
Nope. What are you arresting me for? No. Oh, fuck you, man. I'm not resisting.
Fighting.
All right, I'm
Put
not
your hands behind your back right now.
I'm not resisting.
Put your hands.
I'm going to sue your ass. I swear to God. Get the camera. Get the camera on.
Give me your other hand.
I will. Don't beat me up, man. I hope you got a camera on.
One secure, clear traffic.
I already got my...
You're under arrest.
For what?
Resisting without violence.
I'm not, no violence.
I'm gonna get you up, all right?
He was violent.
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
So stupid.
I don't know. Listen, I'm just trying to eat food. I got a fuck.
Hey, watch that napkin you tossed.
I just got a hospital.
Lean on the car.
Okay.
Let me see your face.
Are you
hurt?
No, I am. You know what? You fucking slammed me for no reason.
Well, I warned you that that was gonna happen.
Listen,
and
man,
you continued
I'm a
to try to
guy.
fight me.
I got a hospital.
I didn't want to do that, man. Listen, you're not a young man. I didn't want to do that to you, but you really gave me no choice.
No, I didn't. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you the truth.
I don't mean that offensively, but like, how old are you?
I'm 66.
So what are you doing? I mean, come on, man.
I'm trying to get over to go there and eat some
It's
food.
gonna give you a warning for your bike light. That's what this was about. And then you don't want to stop. You toss whatever's in that napkin, which I watched you do,
No,
and then whatever else is on you.
I have nothing on me. You can check.
Well, I'm going to, because you're under arrest at this point. This could have been a simple traffic warning. You are going to jail for resisting without violence, 100%.
Look, I just got to the hospital yesterday, man. And I have not taken my medication. I just got medication. This girl down the street here that she got for me. And I was trying to get back to the coalition and take it.
You got anything sharp in your jacket or anything?
No,
Any needles or razor blades? I don't want to get stuck.
No, I don't, man. No.
Sure.
Try it. No.
Could you put that lamp on for me, the headlamp? Yeah, Chris, put gloves on and check that napkin. He ditched that. And he might have dished something else back there, too.
No, I think that's a napkin, but I don't look all you want.
I don't think that's just a napkin, man. People don't do that when they're getting pulled over like that.
Why are you pulling me over?
For your lights. You don't have any lights on your bike. That's why I'm stopping you.
I can't eat now.
What?
I was going home to eat.
Or just that napkin? That's the one I saw.
Yeah. It's in my pocket.
Kanan is talking to this guy and he's like, "You're an old man. Why did you make me slam you to the ground?" And so it's all about like, you made me do this. It's sort of like the Taylor Swift, look what you made me do, thing. It's nothing about our personal responsibility. It has nothing to do with owning our actions, controlling our emotions, any of that stuff. He slammed this guy on the ground, some 60-some-year-old guy who's homeless, down on his luck, for nothing, over a bike light, over really it was a lack of compliance. And so what we have created is a whole force of people who know how to gaslight and manipulate as a profession. I would argue it is probably why we see such a higher incidence of domestic violence relationships that exist where one of the spouses are a law enforcement officer. There's so many derivative problems that are associated with the career of law enforcement in general that can very likely have their roots traced back to the way we teach these guys to think. And so anyway, in closing, I just wanted to kind of invite you into this as a topic of conversation, as something to explore, something to consider. And I'll be doing more videos here to sort of flesh out my ideas as it relates to this. And eventually I'm going to turn this into a training manuscript and a book to go out and just give a different way of thinking about how we interact with people and how law enforcement arrives at the scene, what their mindset is when they get there, so that we can teach them how to leave their ego at home. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. I just wanted to put it out there as an initial thought. Wanted to keep it light. It's Good Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful Easter weekend. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I'd like to invite you to come over to the Substack community. It's absolutely free to join. It doesn't cost you anything. There are paid tiers available just for people who want to support the channel financially. But if you don't want to come to Substack, maybe you don't like reading blogs, maybe you just don't want to leave the YouTube platform and go follow me somewhere else, that's completely fine. If you still would like to support the Southern Draw Law channel monetarily, I'll post my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.